All right, all right, all right. Let's do this again. All right, what's up, Clubhouse? So we're going to go live on a few different platforms, but today I want to discuss all of the different ways. We can discuss anything you guys want to, but I do want to touch on the different ways to make money in real estate. From the 4 Data Points Academy, I founded it. It's an educational training platform, as many of you know. And sometimes investing the traditional way is not always the best way to go about it. It's not always the safest. And for somebody that wants to mitigate as much risk as possible, then we need to find other ways to generate income. So I do want to talk about a few of those today, and we'll branch off into some other things. But first, flash your mics if you're on stage, so I don't call on you to introduce yourself and then it's just blank. All right, Rose, how you doing, Credit Goddess? Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, before we jump into this.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Rose Lord. Oh, well, Happy New Year, first of all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. My name is Rose Lord Lewis. I'm also known as Credit Goddess. I am all things credit. I'm a credit score improvement strategist. I help my clients get in the best position for funding. Um, I just learned a new terminology. We call this post revenue funding. Okay. Post revenue funding is before you make revenue.
That's
That's what I
pre-revenue.
help you get.
Pre-revenue
Or
funding.
pre-revenue. I'm sorry, pre-revenue, not post. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pre-revenue.
Okay.
Post-revenue is when you're making money in your business and you can get funding that way.
Yes.
But to help everyone understand, pre-revenue funding, that because we use the word funding interchangeably, so it's like we don't know like what type of funding we qualify, but to make it more just much easier for you guys is pre-revenue funding, meaning you get funding before you make revenue. I help you get that kind of funding.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about that too.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that too because you see a lot of funding conversations on social media, and I can
Mm-hmm.
see through the veil. But
Right,
for
exactly.
for somebody that's not familiar with that process or doesn't understand the full scope of the funding conversation, then they may be intrigued and engaged, because usually those folks have something to sell.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of conversation around getting funding, not a lot of conversation about how you're going to pay it back. So,
exactly.
so just because you can get funding, that's like walking into slavery. That's like walking into the plantation. You got to be able to pay it
Right.
back. So stick around. We go, but tell everybody where you're from too, because you got to
Of
represent.
course. I'm in the state of Florida, South Florida to be exact.
What
Born and
county?
raised Miami, Palm Beach County.
Okay, I always give people from Broward County a hard time
Yeah, a lot of people from Broward County,
because they
but
have
I'm from
both.
Dade County, y'all, 305. But I'm in Palm Beach though. I
Oh,
reside here,
all
Palm
right,
Beach.
all right. You was like, I'm getting out of this black neighborhood. I'm, I'm, I'm integrating. All right, go ahead.
Oh.
I'm integrating too. Look, yeah, y'all can stay over there in Oakland. All right, Remy, what's going on, brother? I saw you flash your mic. You with us?
Yes, sir. I am here. Good morning, everybody, and happy New Year! Shout out to my sister Rose. Listen, grateful to be here. I am all things housing, alternative housing, affordable housing, shared living, community living, co-living. I am a housing advocate, basically for all those that traditionally wouldn't necessarily qualify, and try to be a support to those through community partnerships and working with different municipalities to see how we can put community resources together as a means to getting these people and these families off the street. Currently taking upon a new venture with my brother Otis, excited for the new opportunities. We trying to grab some heavy M's this year, and I ain't talking M&Ms, but as many M's as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Grateful to be here. Grateful to be amongst so many brilliant minds in this room on this platform. Thank you for having me, bro. Oh man, I hit a major lick, bro. So, a lot of people that don't know, I'm in the government contracting sector or sector of housing,
Mhm.
and I work with specifically financial institutions like Wells Fargo, Navy Federal, and so unfortunately, um, because I work with housing, I'm dealing with a lot of people that go into pre-foreclosure. So I literally have access to 30 to 40 leads per week, where I actually have to go and inspect these properties and to see if, if these individuals are still occupying this property, or, if they're, in the processes of filing foreclosure or going through some type of like bankruptcy or situation like that. But it's an opportunity for those that are into creative acquisition to basically acquire these properties in exchange of, taking these individuals out of their economic situation. If they're finding some type of economic hardship. So, we got to talk about how we can hit a lick with that, man. Getting a hold of some of these investors. I'm telling you, man, listen, brother.
Hey, look, I'm laughing because
Come on.
Because I know I'm gonna have to translate for my Caucasian audience. A lick means an opportunity, and it derived from the old days. The old days, which a lick could imply criminal intent, but it is
break it down. Oh,
it is
break it down
into taking advantage of a financial opportunity. So
yes,
that's all we're not robbing. We're not gonna rob someone. We're not robbing anybody. All right,
at all. No, we do it.
Go ahead.
All things legal. No, all things legal on this side. No, it's just an opportunity to where we see, unfortunately, I'm getting 30 to 40 leads a week where, a lot of people are going through economic hardship and in the process of losing their home. So we want to do whatever we can to obviously take them out of that situation by still trying to save their credit, but in exchange for their property. Yeah. And so working on some wonderful things, man. So, anybody that's interested in the Central Texas market from San Antonio all the way to the Waco area, please let me know. Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
First of all, those are all ours. Those are all
ours.
There is no, if anybody's interested, those are all ours. And as far as the general public is concerned, no leads are available. Amen. Remy?
All right, say no more. Say no more. Say no more. Now, I will tell you, bro, we don't have to skip trace because I have the full manifest. We literally have the name of the owners. We do have the property address, and we also have the information on how far they are behind. Yeah. So we'll know how to accurately analyze and properly propose, to provide an offer for them. So I got the full sauce on that thing, and nobody's touched it, man. The only people that know is me as the inspector and the financial institution. So
okay,
you got it.
So that's good. So we're going to talk about how to make money real estate investing outside of the traditional way. So I actually want to take an example and let's see how the average person can take that down. So we have a workshop coming up for you guys that don't know in Houston on Saturday, the 22nd, February. So February 22nd, that's Saturday. We have a meet and greet Friday.
I'll send you that spreadsheet, bro.
Yeah, send it to me because
I got you.
What I'm going to teach at the workshop is how to take some of these things down and pay out of your exit strategy so you're not limited by having to come up with a down payment and all these other things. So we're going to get into the creative stuff at the workshop, but I do want to give an example why we are here. Donovan, what's going on, brother?
What up? Just sitting back, listening to all the elixirs coming out of this combo. You know what I mean? So
yes, we got to keep it. We got to keep it professional every time.
I was going to ask. Excuse me, sir. What is actually a lick?
So we got to keep it professional, man. Look, look, when you look like me, you have to you've got to be able to appeal to all audiences.
Bro, you've been accepted already. I don't know why you tripping. Drake is accepted into the Caucasian community, man.
Yeah. Those are my Caucasian brothers and sisters. I gotta keep them up to speed too. So Donovan, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, man.
Donovan Gaspard. I'm a realtor in Maryland and DC. I'm part of the 4 Data Points Academy as the Cardone Veterans Group with Anthony Glenn. Been with Otis and 4 Data Points for about a year? Over a year now?
Yep.
Jeez. Yeah. Yep. Crazy. And I'm also the co-host with Otis for our podcast called the Full Menu Podcast. Check us out. I got to get with you because I've just talked to Watts and he's got our first episode taken care of. So
all right, we're gonna check it out. James, are you with us? I think James is in Columbia trying to find a coffee shop.
Yes, sir.
Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, man, before we jump into this.
Good morning, everybody. How is it going? My name is James Lewis. I am a business coach. So I help folks like everybody here, everybody listening who have businesses or want to start businesses, make their business flourish and create all sorts of success. I've been very, very fortunate that I've been part of some large organizations. I run businesses as large as $300 million a year. So I use that experience around leadership to help folks, create processes in their business, build teams, understand how to, really understand what skills and attributes that they want to develop to make their business successful, understand how to make database decisions, understand how to create successful plans, understand that accountability is really what drives action in your business. And one of the most important things is values. If you don't really think about that as much as they should, it's really the place that we start. Values, you build your business around your values, all sorts of magical things happen when you do that. So look, at the 4 Data Points Academy, one of the things that I get a lot of fulfillment out of is, real estate investors, often what I see is folks that are getting in real estate almost see it like it's something that you do on the side. And what I've observed is that the most successful real estate investors understand that, look, real estate is a business like every other business. And if you treat it as such and you build that business and, put processes around that business, you get long lasting success. And that is what I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing the folks in our real estate family do. We've been doing this now for almost 4 years now, right? So let's get into it.
Yeah, so officially it's been, 4 Data Points Academy was birthed just a few years ago, but I've been in this space for a very long time. So folks that don't know me, I get distracted so easy. Hey, shout out to Atlanta. Shout out to everybody in Atlanta, Georgia. For folks that don't know me, my name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a long-term hold investor. I am a licensed real estate broker in California. I'm a licensed real estate broker in Georgia. I'm licensed in insurance in California. I consult on multiple projects, my own and other development projects. I've consulted on projects domestically and abroad in multiple countries in Africa. I was a notary public and had a notary signing agent company, a national signing agent company back in the day. On the entrepreneurial side, I took $585 one day and went on to generate a company I created a company that generated 7 figures in the short time that I had it. 4 Data Points Academy was found out of necessity. It just wasn't being taught right, in my opinion, the real estate education. So I have a formal background and in some cases a not so formal background in investing in real estate. I spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. When I exited that industry, technically I didn't exit. Now I own multifamily. So, but the corporate environment, when I exited the corporate environment, I was overseeing 3,000 units, which equates to about $650 million in multifamily commercial assets, which is where I derived a large portion of the curriculum that we use for multifamily commercial investing. I do some other stuff that sounds way more important on paper than it is in real life. I am 48 years old, about to be 49, and I've been going to real estate meetings, with my dad since I was like 3 years old. So, even as a young kid, I could have an intelligent conversation about certain aspects of real estate. I also ran a mortgage company with my father for some years. Mortgage of the Rock was the name of the company. We funded probably just short of $1 billion. So, my experience goes, it goes across multiple aspects of real estate. So I consider myself to be a professional, not just teacher or mentor, but also a learner too, because I enjoy nerding out to finding new ways to accomplish things with 2 goals in mind: mitigating risk and I'm not going to say the other. I'm not going to say the other one, but it's all good. And I find fulfillment in teaching people how to do the same. I have some other qualifications. I'm not going to get into those right now because they really don't matter to everyone. But how do you make money outside of the traditional way in real estate investing? Now, there could be a lot of ways. So, James, if I asked you how many types of ways to make money there are in real estate, what would you guess? How would you guess if you just had to throw a number out there? All right, James is, he's about to get roasted. You know that, right?
Get
Hey,
He's
man.
about to get roasted. Look,
Hey, man,
if
be careful. I'll roast back.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm the roast king. I'm the rotisserie king. Go ahead.
So okay. Let me qualify my answer by saying,
Uh-oh.
we could categorize things, right? So you can list a whole bunch of them, but then you could categorize them, right? So I'm going to, like, for example, you could say, um, put a um, put a business model, right? But you can list 1,000 business models.
Okay. Sorry, I don't think my sound went out. It could be short-term rentals, it could be transitional housing, and even in the transitional housing space, you can appeal to a bunch of different demographics. It could be medium-term housing. I'm doing something where I'm going to transition one of my properties to residential assisted living. I'm going to transition another property to cater towards healthcare professionals and medium-term rentals. So there's those categories. Now, there's also the traditional, house flipping, which is great. It's a good way to generate some cash. If you can raise capital amongst friends to be able to do that and then take your fees, that can put you in a position where you don't have to come up with your equity position or down payment. You can use capital raised and then finance the rest. There is long-term hold investing. You can cross asset classes. You can go to multifamily, commercial. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Right. Most people gravitate towards the opportunities where you don't need as much capital up front. So I'm going to go. Remy, you still there?
Yes, sir. I'm here, man.
So you got a lot of leads or communication with people that are going to be in some tough positions pretty soon. Now, before I get into that, there's certain things that we kind of incorporate into the way we do business. One of those things is I'll never put a family out on the street for personal gain. That's just some of my personal. I'm not saying people are wrong for doing that, because a lot of these folks are going to lose their houses anyway. So if I am engaged in that conversation, I'll do what I can to give these folks a soft landing somewhere else, or out of the profits, help improve their situation. So when we start getting into wholesaling and negotiating and all these other things, just keep that in mind. You get to determine what type of real estate investor you want to be. And I don't want to be the type that makes other people's position worse for financial gain. Again, I'm not saying that people are bad people for doing that. There's a whole business around that. That's just me personally. So I want to make that distinction. Also, if we start getting into things like tax liens and tax deeds, I don't do tax deeds anymore. And the reason is it's personal. It's not because it's wrong or anything like that. But when I was going in and looking at tax deeds for a long time, I saw people that were losing their house for like $150, for $400, $300, right? So what I would do is I would go in there and I just start paying people's tax deeds, and obviously I can't afford to do that for everybody. So I just got out of the tax deed game. But I do teach people how to do those things and invest in tax deeds and invest in just about anything else in the real estate space. So, Remy, let's go ahead and put a scenario together to show how we take advantage of some of these opportunities. So, let's call it
Absolutely.
123 Main Street, and tell me about these leads. Like, what type of financial situation are they in? I think you mentioned pre-foreclosure.
Yeah, so a lot of these are in pretty much pre-foreclosure status. What I'm doing is, in particularly, a lot of these properties and accounts are 3 to 6 months behind in rent, unfortunately. And so, people are not really able to pay their mortgages. There's been a lot of layoffs and things of that nature, unfortunately. So that allows people that possibly purchased a house probably within the last 3 to 5 years to, fall into some form of default.
Okay.
So what's happening is that the multiple banks, Navy Federal, Wells Fargo, and so forth and so on, have been reaching out to these individuals, but have not been able to get a hold of them just to see the current status of the property. So what I do in particularly is I actually go to the property. I go and inspect the property to one to see if it's still being occupied, number one, and then to see if there's still like the utilities are still being on. Based off of the request from the bank, they ask if there's any collateral, like is there any other personal property, is there any necessary personal property on the property, like vehicles and things of that nature.
So they're
Is
just,
there a
so they're behind on their mortgage payment and they can't pay it, basically.
correct? Yeah, yeah. And, like vehicles, if there's like any vehicles, or they'll ask, is there a for sale sign? Do you see a lockbox? That kind of information. And a
Gotcha.
lot of these properties are either still being occupied or just completely empty altogether.
Okay, so let's do a scenario. We're gonna call it 123 Main Street. Okay, and anytime I invest in anything, there's 4 questions that need to be answered. Can somebody on stage tell me what those 4 questions are? Anybody but James? Oh, I'm taking y'all to the principal's office.
How much does it cost?
Okay.
How much does it cost to fix up?
All right.
How much is it going to be worth? And then what can you, I always forget the 4th one. I know the 4th one, but I always forget how to ask.
How much can it generate?
How much mile? There you
How much income
go.
can
That
you
one.
generate?
How much to generate? That one.
Brother, I got you.
All right. All right. All right. Took y'all
Teamwork
long
make the
enough?
dream work, baby.
Took y'all
I know
long
that's-
enough. All right.
Hey, man, I stepped up. What you talking about?
You did. I'll give you that. And thanks for the support, Divorce. All right.
All
So,
good.
so when I'm looking at a property, it doesn't matter how easy you can get the property. It doesn't matter if they're willing to sell or finance the whole entire thing. It doesn't matter if you can acquire the property, even if it's cash flowing, if you can just acquire it with a signature. That does not necessarily mean it's a good investment. So 4 data points, foundation of real estate. We ask 4 questions every time we're considering a piece of property. Doesn't matter whether it's a single family home, a condo somewhere, a freaking tree house, or a 2,000 unit development. You still want to know the answer to the same 4 questions. Now, in the larger asset classes, it's going to require more due diligence, but you still want to be able to arrive at answers to these 4 questions. So let's, for easy math, we'll say, what does it cost? We'll say $100,000. What does it cost to fix up? Let's say it needs $20,000 worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to be worth when I'm done? Let's say it's in a neighborhood where houses that are in good condition are selling for $200,000. Okay. And how much income can it generate? Let's say $1,500 a month if we were to keep it. Now, at this point, we don't know. I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, we don't know what we're going to do with this investment. We don't know whether it's going to be a flip. We don't know whether it's going to be a long-term hold. So once we get the answers to these questions, we can start examining these answers. Okay. So data point number 1, what does it cost? Okay, if we're buying it for $100,000, and let's assume we were able to negotiate $100,000. If we're buying it $100,000, we know that if we go, because this is investment property, we know that if we're using conventional financing, which we don't, why do we not? Because we know there's a rehab, and conventional financing doesn't have a mortgage product or many mortgage products that will let you finance the rehab. Now, there are exceptions out there, so I don't want anybody calling me saying, hey, there's this program in Waukegan, Illinois that'll let you. No, it's generally, we're talking about, when I say conventional, we're talking about mortgages that get sold back to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on the secondary money market. Okay. Real estate investors don't typically use conventional financing for a couple reasons. One, the documentation requirements, right? We don't meet them because we are, just like any self-employed or entrepreneur, we don't meet them because we're trying to reduce our tax liability. That can be a double-edged sword. Also, conventional financing, they will finance a percentage of what you buy the property for, but they will not finance a percentage of what it's going to be worth when you're done. So we use hard money. Hard money is asset-based lending. They call it hard money because back in the day, interest rates were a lot higher and it was hard to make them payments. So that's where the name hard money came from. But it's asset-based lending. Asset-based lending is where they qualify you primarily on the equity in the property and or the income that it generates, depending on which mortgage product you're using. All right. So we know data point number 1, $100,000. I already know that I'm going to use hard money for this. That means I already know I got to come up with at least 10%. If you don't have any experience, you're probably going to have to come up with a little more, maybe 15, 20, 25%. Okay. So I already got that in the back of my mind. So there's a $10,000 conversation in the back of my mind. Now there's a $20,000 rehab. Okay. That is what it is, right? There's not a lot of conversation, around that. But I do note there's a $20,000 rehab. Now, how we got to that $20,000, I have a whole education piece on how we get to that. But let's assume we arrived at that and it's $20,000 to fix a property out. What's it going to be worth when we're done? We already checked to see what similar properties are selling for. We're going to assume this is a 1 to 4 unit, specifically a 1 unit single family home. The value is based on what similar homes are selling for in the area. We already did that research. And as of today, right, it may not be that way tomorrow, but as of today, our house is going to be worth $200,000, give or take, when it's all said and done. Now, this is important. Once you know what the property is going to be worth when you're done, I already know, see, I know I'm going to be in for 120. I know it's going to be worth 200,000. I already know I can finance anywhere, hard money or conventional, with some programs. Let's stick to hard money though, because investors, that's what we do. I already know that I can cash out refinance for 80% of this. Most lenders are going to 75%, but there's still some that'll let me do 80. So what's 80% of 200,000? That's 160, right? 160,000. So I'm going to write that down, and I'm just going to put that to my refi amount. Okay. Now that I know that if I decide to keep this, that I can do a cash out refinance for 160,000, I already know that 160,000 is enough to pay off the 100,000, including the 10,000 that I put into it as a down payment, and the 20,000 for the rehab. Okay. So I'm going to be in 120. I do a cash out refinance for 160. If I decide to keep it, that means I walk away with 40,000 tax free, minus points, fees, closing costs, and all that other stuff. Okay. I also know that $160,000 mortgage is going to cost me something per month. So what I'll do is I will go to my payment calculator. There's a million of them. I use Zillow Mortgage just because I'm too lazy to find another one. And I'll start putting the numbers in here. Price, 100,000. Down payment, we're going to put 0 down payment. This is a cash out refinance. As a matter of fact, under price, we're going to put 160 because we're calculating the refinance. Interest rate, I'm going to say 8%. I know it ain't pretty. We don't care. We don't care about interest. Property taxes. Property taxes are going to be based off the purchase amount for wherever you are. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce that since it's not off the loan on the loan amount. Homeowners insurance, that's going to cost me, I'll say $1,100 a year. There needs to be insurance reform, by the way. HOA dues, no, I do not buy in HOAs. So $1,395 a month is going to be my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay, so I'm gonna write that down. $1,395 is my carrying on this. That's how much it's going to cost me per month to own this property. I'm only investigating now. I'm only doing the due diligence. Now, this isn't the end all be all due diligence. This is just enough due diligence to determine whether it's even worth my time to pursue this property. Once I get in the contract, there's another set of due diligence that we do. All right. So what do we know from these numbers? Okay. Data point number 1, what does it cost? 100,000. I know I'm going to have to come up with 10,000. If I don't have that, I know I got to get creative off the bat. Okay. Data point number 2 is 20,000. I know I'm going to have to put some money into the property to get it in condition to dispose, right? Either cash out, refinance, or sell. Data point number 3, what's it going to be worth when we're done? 200,000. I already know that I can finance 80% of that. And by the way, I already own the property. So it would just be a cash out refinance for 80%, which is 160. I know that $160,000 mortgage is enough to pay back what I paid for the property, the rehab, and closing costs and all that other stuff. So I can walk away with $40,000 if I decide to keep the property, minus closing costs, fees, all these other stuff, all these other things. Also, if I sell the property, I know it's going to be worth $200,000, just like I mentioned. So that $200,000 obviously is enough to pay off the $100,000, the $120, right, for the rehab. I'm in $120. Now I got $80,000, right? $80,000 that I have to pay capital gains tax if I don't put that into another property. $80,000 minus real estate fees, closing costs, points, all that other stuff. Okay. But there's no points on this end because I'm selling the property. So I'm not dealing with a lender. So I don't have to deal with that. So I know that $160,000 cash out refinance is going to cost me $1,395 a month to own. We already did our due diligence. Data point number 4, how much income can it generate? It can generate $1,500 a month. Now, it's going to cost me $1,395. Let's just call it $1,400. It generates $1,500. That's $100 a month in cash flow. Okay. Somebody on stage tell me right now, is that worth it or is it not? So, Jamisha, somebody tell me, or even in the chat. I'm not looking at the chat, folks. So can one of you guys look at the chat and let me know what questions are coming about in there?
I got you on the chat as far as questions go.
Somebody tell me if this is a good deal. Okay.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Now, is it because it's only cash flowing $100 a month? And as soon as you put in a water heater, you're in the red.
Pretty much.
All right. So this is a
If you got to buy a new microwave, you in the red.
Right.
Most investors will tell you, no, this is not performing. There is no right or wrong answer here. The correct response is it good enough for you? Now, I'm not even getting out of bed for $100 a month. As soon as I put a property manager in front of it, I'm breaking even. Right. So now it's cash. So now let's call it 32 grand after all the fees and everything are paid. Okay. So I made 32 grand. I still own the property. Let's see if you guys can make sure you guys can hear me on this. I still own the property. I'm still reaping the benefit. I'm still writing off the interest. I'm still writing off property taxes. I'm still writing off insurance. Of course, I'm writing off all the maintenance, but I've got 32 grand that I am now going to put into another property. Okay. I'm going to put that into another property. And the property that I put that into, the cash flow or the reward should offset this initial property's performance. All right. So now I can have two properties out of just kind of massaging one. See what I'm saying? So it's you have to determine whether or not that deal is going to be good for you. But you don't know until you've answered those 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Right. So now that we have that framework, I want to buy this property, but now let's assume I have no money. All right. Before I get into acquiring it under the assumption that I have no money, are there any questions in the chat? By the way, folks, that link at the top, if you want to learn how to do all this stuff, that link at the top is to our website, 4datapoints.com. 4 Data Points Academy, we take people with zero knowledge and they stay on with us for as long as it takes. You don't have to keep paying. You pay us once and we stay in the fight until you either give up or the apocalypse happens or Jesus comes back, whatever happens first. So that being said,
Carolyn Harris has a question in the chat.
Go ahead. What's the question?
She says, I had a question for you, Otis. Have you had any experience with people seeking to do owner-occupied purchases? And then she says that say I do or apartment buildings. Okay, yeah, I see it.
No. So none of this stuff works on owner-occupied. Now,
okay,
you can acquire the property as income producing and then later move into it, right? So you can still get the outcome that you were like. I've got properties, I've sold 5 properties this year or last year, but I have properties all around the country. So if I go and decide I want to move to Houston, I can just move into that property. If I go to Missouri, I can just move into that property. If I wanted to move to Atlanta, I could have moved into any one of those 3 properties that I had out there. If I wanted to move to South Carolina, I can move into any of them. So once you acquire them, you can move into them eventually, right? So does this work it doesn't work initially for owner-occupied properties because the lenders that we use don't lend on owner-occupied properties because it needs to be profitable. That's how they get it. So they want to make sure they're getting their money back. So yes and no. There's some redundancy. There's some crossover. If I had my eye on an owner-occupied property, and I didn't have the capital up front, I'd get creative and probably try to acquire it with a lease option or temporary subject to. I do not like subject to. I don't do long-term subject to. It's just too risky. But there's ways to get into it, but that's a whole nother conversation. There's always a way, right? I mean, we can get into property without using any financing, right? But you have to understand, the different strategies to make that happen. What other questions are you seeing there, Tavares?
No other questions. A couple of comments,
Yes.
but
What are they?
Annalise, what's up, Annalise? She said, "Is it just easier for Otis to tell us everything he's doing while he sets up the convo, play by play?" Shout out, Annalise. That's what's up.
Yeah, man, I need to have somebody that's working all this stuff so I could just come in, sit down, and do what I need to do. I start getting overwhelmed with all these buttons. Like you guys can't see me now. I guess if you guys are on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, the back of all my stuff is in. Most of the stuff is in the back, right? But what you don't see is what I'm looking at. There's more stuff over here that you can't see. So it looks like mission control up in here. And then when you get a certain age, you start getting frustrated at all these buttons. Put all these damn buttons up in here. All right. So what other comments? Any other notable comments before I move on to any other ones?
Nah, you're good. You're good. Annalise was just messing with you. She said he don't know what to do with his hands. All these buttons. Okay, I'm done picking on Otis. So just showing you some love, little light taps. That's it.
I don't see now that I'm doing this live on these platforms. I can't do the stuff I normally do when I'm just doing the audio on Clubhouse because y'all we get people and they come up and I'm really I like to move really fast and we'll have people come up and explain their scenario and my goal is to work through their scenario. But people naturally bring an emotional component to what it is that they're doing, which you shouldn't. So I have to sit through the 5 minutes of, why you feel the way you do about it. And I just want to know the 4 numbers, the 4 data points. All right, we do the 4 data points to save time. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when we're done? How much income can it generate? So while they're talking, my attention span is so short, I have to keep myself from cutting them off. So I just be up in here pop locking and do all types of dance moves and stuff while y'all can see me now and I got to keep it professional. So I can't do that. And I also can't do this in my underwear anymore. So it's also, it's also unfortunate.
Dorothy Connor says she might have a few questions for you. So I'm thinking that she may come off mic at any time.
Come on, Dorothy.
In taxing, so I'm already doing that sort of thing as far as real estate is concerned. But I have a property that I currently live in, and I say I have about close to $80,000 worth of equity, maybe even more. I would like to maybe perhaps take that money and buy a multi or another unit or just another property. But I hate debt. Promise you I hate debt. What is my best option? Is it a line of credit?
Well, a line of credit is debt too.
Yeah, but if I do, if I take out a second mortgage, then I start all over again, right?
Okay. I see what you're saying. So you hate debt, but if you have to engage in debt, what's the best way to go about it?
Yes, good debt.
Yeah, line of credit is always going to be the best. So, so for me, it goes like this: leveraging my insurance policy or leveraging a stock portfolio, right? Because I don't have to sell anything. I could borrow against it, do what I need to do, and out of the proceeds, pay it back. If I have to do a cash out refinance on my personal residence, one, are the terms better or are they worse? The terms are going to be worse, especially if you're one of those folks that got a 2.5%, 3% interest rate. Terms are going to be worse.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So you don't want to touch that. So a line of credit is going to be the next best option because it doesn't impact your initial mortgage and you can use that money over and over again. So if you do a cash out refinance, you can't access those funds again until you pay it off. And your monthly payment doesn't change until you pay it off. I don't care if you paid 90% of it off, you're still going to be paying on that 10% at the same payment and so on and so forth. So we don't want to do that. But if we have to do that, because you still got to hunt, still got to put food on the table, right? And you don't have access to a line of credit, then you have to run the numbers to make sure that the income that the new opportunity is producing is offsetting the additional cost of accessing those funds on your primary residence. So you have to run the numbers not just on one property. It may be profitable, but after you take into consideration existing debt outside of that, it may not be as profitable as you need it to be. So a line of credit is going to be your best bet. And I'll give you an example. If I have, let's say I have a $50,000 line of credit, okay? And in this scenario, let's say I put $20,000 down. Remember, we were just going over a property that was worth. We buy it for 100. It's a $20,000 rehab. It'll be worth 200,000 when we finish, and it rents out for 15. So let's say I got a line of credit of 50,000. I can go in. I've experienced, so I can do this purchase with 10,000 down. Now I still got 40,000, and it's a $20,000 rehab. So I don't even have to go to the lender for this. I can save on points and fees and just pay the rehab out of pocket. So I pay that. Now I'm left with 20,000, right? 10,000 for the down payment, 20 for the rehab. I had 50, so I'm left with 20,000. But now I've got the place rehabbed, right? Now it's worth 200,000. Now I can do that cash out refinance for 160,000, which is 80% of the after repair value. Out of that $160,000 mortgage, I pay back everybody I owe, including that line of credit. Now I still have that line of credit available to me. Now it's ready to go again because I paid it all off. Now I can go do the same thing on another property and another property and another property. And the goal is to gain as many properties as you can, right? Or, well, the goal is to use the same money over and over again on each new property while leaving a trail of cash flowing assets in your wake. So to answer your question, a line of credit is always going to be better because you can use it like a credit card. You just need to be responsible with it and make sure that you run the numbers and include the cost of that money, because you have to pay it back when you're determining whether to move forward on a new opportunity. I know I said a lot to say a little, but a line of credit is the best out of those scenarios. That makes sense?
Perfect sense. Yes.
What are you thinking of? What are you thinking of acquiring? You said multifamily. Is that multifamily commercial?
Yeah, but another thing is that I don't want to live in it.
Okay.
It would be, my second property as far as mortgages are concerned. I do have a duplex on tax liens that I have just another year of redemption.
Okay.
So next year I'll redeem and be the owner of the duplex. But I kind of wanted to generate some money now, that mailbox money. But I'm like you. I understand exactly what you're saying. If I do the line of credit, I need to make sure it's paid for by whatever I acquire.
Okay. So describe this property that you would like to get. Just describe it.
Maybe
Make it
just
up
a
in your head.
2-unit. Maybe a 2-unit. I've seen some for under $200K.
Okay. Where?
In my neighborhood.
I don't. Where? What city are you in?
Illinois.
Okay. What city in Illinois?
That's Ingleside.
Ingleside. Okay.
Mhm.
So a duplex. Describe this duplex,
Yes.
and let's say it's let's say it's 180. Let's say it's $180,000.
Okay.
Okay. So you
Yes.
got a duplex. It's $180,000. That's going to be your purchase price. What type of condition is it in at $180,000?
I would say it's in fair condition.
Fair. So it just probably needs some cosmetic stuff, update
Yes.
kitchens and bathrooms, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's
But no,
put.
not. Go ahead.
So let's say I'm going to say 20,000 in fix up
Okay.
costs. Okay. Now, what's it going to be worth once you fix it up? What do you think? What are they selling for in good condition?
It's a good question. I would guess. I would maybe 3.
Oh, okay. So 300,000.
Maybe
All right.
3. Yeah, because we get a nice piece of land up here where we live. So we.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, how much can each side rent out for?
I think I did see like a 2 up and a 3 down. So I'm guessing I could probably get at least $2,000 each.
Okay, you said 2
For
up and
each?
3 down. What does that mean?
Like a 2-bedroom upstairs.
Oh, 2 up and a 3. Okay.
Yeah, and I would guess I would get about $2,000 for that, and maybe $2,500 for the 3-bed.
Okay. So we're gonna say $2,000. We'll say $4,500 a month.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a good deal all day. That is a good deal
Yeah.
all day. All right. So your line of credit, how much is that going to be if you get it?
Well, my lender said I would have to put down at least 20%. So
Okay.
I'm guessing maybe for something like that, I would say maybe 30,000 down,
Okay.
40,000. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 20%. Okay. About 34,000 or 34. Let's just say 35,000.
Mm-hmm.
I still need 6 credits to graduate junior college, so I get overwhelmed with math.
Really?
Was 35,000 down is what you need. Okay. So you're going to be all in 180 plus a $20,000 rehab. That's so you're going to be all in at 200,000. We're going to say, let's call it 210 with closing costs. But now the property is worth 300,000. So on a cash out refinance, let's say 80%.
Mm-hmm.
So 80% of 300,000. Okay, so we'll go 300,000 times 0.8. So 240,000 is going to be your mortgage amount when it's all said and done. Now, because we know it's going to rent out for $4,500 a month, we just got to see how much that $240,000 mortgage is going to cost. Because you're also, you keep in mind, you're also paying this line of credit back. That's in the 180 and the 20,000. You're paying all that. That's included. So at 240,000, this is a good deal. I can tell you, by the way, if you can find this, I already know. So at 240,000, who's your lender? Is it a conventional bank?
No, it's they're called Bay Equity.
Is it a hard money lender?
I don't know.
Okay.
Money lender.
Okay, so Bay Equity, okay, that's fine. That's for your line of credit. When you're ready to execute, come to me and I'll get you set up because you're also probably going to want to use a hard money lender on this too.
Oh, okay.
So just come to us and we'll get you squared away on that. So your mortgage payment, even at 8%, is only going to be, let me see, $1,250 a year. Okay, I got to increase that insurance because you got the duplex. You're only that mortgage is going to cost you $2,100 a month.
Okay.
So you're going to get
say if that, but yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get all your money back out of the deal if you do it right, and then you're going to be cash flowing $2,100 a month. So that's
nice.
Excellent, right?
Yeah, I got my eye on a couple of properties. Yeah.
Okay, and then you may even walk away with some change out of that cash out refinance. I got to go back and let me see. You're going to be all in 1.8. You're going to be all in 200. Your mortgage is going to be your final mortgage is going to be 240. So let's say 10,000 closing costs. So you're walking away with 30 grand in your pocket. And it's going to be cash flowing $2,100 a month, and you have no money into the deal. I would do that all day.
Oh, okay.
I would do that all day. Yeah. So and then with that $30,000, I'd put that into another property and just keep repeating the process over and over and over again.
Now, do I have to live in it? Is there a way to get around that?
No,
okay.
you don't have to. Everything I do is under the assumption that you're not going to live in it. If you live in it, there's ways to invest, but it's called house hacking, and that impacts my quality of life too much. I'm not going to live in a property with other tenants, and I'm not doing it. So I get it.
Right? I know the bank says that's a requirement. So.
Oh, so this is owner occupied. Okay, so
yeah, because I'm not leaving my home, but it would be my second property.
Okay, but you can do a line. You do a line of credit on your personal residence, though, right?
Right.
That's fine. As long as you can get the line of credit on your personal residence, then the bank is done. That bank's job is done. Now that we have a line of credit, I can show you how to execute using an asset-based lender to accomplish exactly what you need to be able to make this happen. And I already accounted for that by when I was running my numbers, I was using an 8% interest rate, maybe a little higher, and you're still cash flowing $2,100 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I were you, well, that's a good deal. I would take that deal down first because we can have this conversation again. But now you have a duplex, 30,000 in your pocket, and it's cash flowing $2,100 a month, and then we can have the conversation about scaling up into asset classes, right?
Okay.
So getting into apartment buildings. Now, so did I answer your question?
You did. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Dorothy, you're not in our real estate family, are you?
I don't think so. I mean, I know you were doing
No, you would know it.
no,
Yeah,
I guess not.
you may have come to a workshop.
I was following you with your brother, I think your cousin, or for the ILFs, the independent living, right?
Assisted living.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
Weren't you doing that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm doing it personally on some of my properties, but
Oh, okay.
no. See.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, then I'm not.
Yeah, you would know if you was in our real estate family. We meet every week. You would know. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to use your example and see how I can acquire that if I didn't have the funds to do it the traditional way. Like, what if I couldn't get a line of credit, right? And that's a lot of people are there. Keep in mind, when I explain how to do this, just because something is possible doesn't mean it's likely for you. Okay, just because something is possible doesn't mean that it's likely because oh, there's okay. Facebook comments over there too. All right, now I can see everything. Because you have to learn all of the things that have to be in alignment for you to be able to accomplish this. Okay, so let's say, I think I'm gonna go back to our first example because it's easier math, and I don't want to trip up. All right, so you have 123 Main Street. This is the first property we were talking about, and 123 Main Street. That person is having some, they're going to lose their house, likely. Okay. And we negotiated being able to buy it for $100,000. We determined that it was going to cost $20,000 to fix it up. We also determined that it's going to be worth $200,000 after it's all said and done. And we determined that it'll rent out for $1,500 a month if we decide to keep it. Now, when we're talking about structuring deals creatively, there's 4 components that you've got to understand. We're going to teach this at the workshop. And you guys will keep here at these workshops that we do. It's not a situation where you go to these workshop seminars and you spend 2 hours learning about the lifestyle. And if you just spend another 20 grand with us, you too could be a real. No, we teach, and we teach as if I'm never going to see you guys again. And I have to make sure that you can go out and be effective. So at the workshop, this is one of the things that we're going to teach. So when you're structuring deals creatively, there's 4 components that we got to pay attention to. The first component is assessing the deal. How do we do that? 4 data points. We answer 4 questions. What is the cost? What is the cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? The second component, and this is the most important. Thank you, Naomi. This is the most important. The second component is taking control of the property to the point where you can borrow against it and you can, do what you want with it. When I say taking control, that means getting your name on that deed before you have to pay for it. So you now own the property. The third component is making it worth more than you bought it for. Value add. You got to make it worth more than you bought it for. And to do that, you're typically borrowing funds, and you can't borrow funds against the property if you don't own it, which is why you got to get your name on that deed before you have to pay for it. And then the fourth component, you got to exit. An exit, you're doing one of 2 things. You're either keeping it or you're selling it. If you sell it, guess what? It just became a flip. If you keep it, it's a long-term hold, and you got to do a cash out refinance to make everybody whole that you dealt with to get to that point. Okay. This is the hardest thing this is the hardest thing to wrap your mind around when you're a new investor. How am I going to get somebody to just deed a property over to me? Oh, who's to say once they deed it over to me, I don't just run off and then cut them out of the deal? So this goes back to, there are other things you have to understand about this process to make it work. One is the documents that we use to protect everybody. Now, me, I do good business. And even if I do business with somebody and I feel like they're leaving themselves too exposed, then I'll go ahead and help them with the proper documentation. It's not my responsibility, right? We're all grown, but I think I have a reputation that goes a lot further than my actual abilities can take me in many cases, primarily because of my way of being and the way I do business. A lot of people want to do business with me. So go ahead, Tavares.
We have a quick question.
Yep.
Carol Harris again. She said, I have a question for you. When you're purchasing a property, you don't disclose all the information that you mentioned, right? You just talk about the purchase price.
Yeah. I just talk about the purchase price. That's it. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to do with the property, but if I know that I can get it at enough of a discount versus what it's going to be worth when I'm done, remember the 4 data points, and I run the 4 data points. Naomi, yeah, you can have you can ask a question. If I'm running the 4 data points, then I do that before I have the conversation in the first place. So when I'm having the conversation, I'm just mostly listening. Right. I'm mostly listening, and then I'm evaluating their situation. I may ask some questions about the property. I'm just putting the picture together, and I don't make any promises, but I do assure them that I'm the best person to deal with because I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of. I don't just, and in building that rapport, people typically get close. They get very comfortable with me. So yeah, it's just about the price. But on the flip side of that, this is what I mean when you get to determine what type of investor you want to be. I've had conversations with people and ended up not buying their house, but sending them a gift card for groceries. I was talking to one guy, this was a few years ago. He had 2 kids. He just lost his job. And I was referred to him. So it was a warm call. So he was a warm, yeah, it was a warm call. So he was expecting me to call. Come to find out, his situation was a lot worse than he thought, and I wasn't going to be able to bail him out, right? And I knew that, and I was very, very upfront with him. But we were about how he got into that position, and then I learned through that conversation he's got 2 kids, and I also learned he had a pretty decent skill set. He just hadn't found another job yet. He thought some opportunities were going to come about, they didn't. So I tell you, man, when you're interacting with people, something in your spirit will tell you to ask them about something that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. Just obey it. And I just obey it. I said, well, what are you doing for, what does your refrigerator look like? He was like, and for guys, this is really hard to talk about with guys because it's, we're the providers and our identity is built around that. So I made it so he wasn't uncomfortable. I let him know, look, I've been there. I told him how bad my situation was, years ago. And so we were very comfortable with each other. And he said, man, I probably got, some snacks in there and, maybe this and that. I said, all right, well, what are your job prospects looking like? He said, well, I hope I get something soon because my cell phone's about to be turned off. Right. So long story short, I ended up paying for his cell phone bill, putting, give him a gift card for some groceries. And then I gave him like another couple $100 or something like that. Right. And I didn't think I was ever going to see this guy again. And, sometimes I walk away from those situations like, dang, man, I really can't afford to be doing that for everybody. Right. And, I get a call probably 3 weeks later, and he ended up referring me to somebody else because he already knew that I'm not chasing money like that. I didn't make any money off of him. As a matter of fact, all I did was give him money, and then I had him send me his resume, and then I had my people that used to do mine do his, and I figured I'll never see him again. But that stuff always comes back to you. So 3 weeks later, I get a call, and I ended up getting 2 deals because he was out there campaigning for me with someone else, right? So when you guys are engaging with people, you get to determine the type of real estate investor that you want to be. And if there's longevity in the conversation, you want to be around another 10 to 15, 20 years or whatever it is, your reputation is going to be the most valuable asset you have. So just keep that in mind. So, but I digress. Let me get back. All right. So we talk about the 4 components of structuring deals creatively. Assess the deal, 4 data points. Take control, get your name on the deed before you have to pay for it. Add value, right? Make it worth more than you bought it for, and then exit. You either do a cash out refinance or you sell the property. And this is basic. This is about as basic as it gets. Now, the question is, how do I get somebody to deed a property over to me when they don't know me? And how do I get them to trust me? Well, you position it so they don't have to trust you. So when we're teaching how to structure deals creatively, we also teach the documents that we need to know about when we're executing. Purchase agreement, everybody's going to have to use one of those, right? A deed, that's a transfer document. That's just how you transfer an asset from one to another. Okay. The note is the primary seller financing component. So what I'm going to do when I'm talking to somebody and I'm going to have them deed the property over to me It's going to go something like this. Hey, John, look, I appreciate you working with me on this. I'm going to make it as painless as possible. Look, I've got some other opportunities. I want to bring in some funds from some other project because there's some rehab work that needs to be done on your property, and I have access to those funds. I need to own the property. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's go ahead and take what I owe you. And in this case, it's going to be 100,000 because that's our purchase amount. And let's take that debt and let's attach it to the property because I want to get creative here. Okay. And when we attach it to the property, we're going to use a document called a security instrument. And I'll teach them what a security instrument. Security instrument gives the lender the power to foreclose if I don't honor the note, if I don't honor that commitment. So John, in our scenario, let's say you deed the property over to me and I decide, you know what, I don't like John anymore. I'm gonna cut him out of the deal. I'm gonna run off to Mexico. If there's no security instrument there, then you're screwed. Right now, of course, we can go through court and do all that, and eventually you might be able to get the property back. But in order to protect you, I'm going to position you as a lender. I'm going to position this debt in your favor and attach it to the property. If I don't honor it, you can foreclose on it, get the property back, just like a bank could foreclose on it. So when I say get your name on that deed before you have to pay for it, there's a process that goes along with that. One is you got to make people feel comfortable if you don't have a pre-existing relationship with them. Fortunately, a lot of people talk good about me behind my back, so it works out, right? The rapport is there. Okay, so now that I own that property, I haven't put any money into anything. Okay, now remember, property, buying it for 100,000. I'm gonna put 20 grand into it. It'll be worth 200. But now I own it. Okay, now I own it. Now I go to my hard money lender and say, hey, hard money lender, remember when you told me you couldn't lend on that property because I didn't have a down payment? That's called loan to purchase. They'll lend you a percentage of the purchase amount, regardless of what it's worth. They don't care if it's worth 500,000. If you're buying it for 100,000, they're going to lend you a percentage of the 100,000. In my case, that would have been, they would have covered 90% or whatever. But we're assuming I didn't have that. But when you already own the property, they have it appraised and lend you a percentage of the value of the property. That's LTV, loan to value. So loan to purchase, doesn't matter what it's worth. They're only going to lend you a percentage of the purchase amount. Loan to value, they have it appraised and lend you a percentage of that. And when they have it appraised, they're going to see that this property is worth 200,000. So we lend up to 80% LTV. So we'll finance 80%. Well, that's great, Mr. Lender. Finance 80%. They're going to give me a mortgage for 160,000. Out of that mortgage, I got to pay some people. I got to pay John. I'm going to call him up. I'm going to say, hey, John, look, just got those funds, got into escrow. The escrow company is going to call you, the closing company. Some states use escrow and title. Some states use closing attorneys. They're going to call you. They're going to want to know how much I owe you. So they're going to want to pay off. So John's going to say, based on our note, John is going to say, all right, well, you owe me X amount of dollars. So when that wire comes in from the new lender on my cash out refinance, the closing company is going to say, all right, who does owe this? How many liens are on this property? Who do we have to pay? Okay, I see he owes John. There's a note for $100,000 or whatever I owe left on it. Well, let's say 100,000. So John's going to get a check for $100,000. Okay, but remember, I got 160. So after that, that's paid off. I still have 60,000 I could spend. Okay, well, where did I borrow the money for the rehab? I can pay that back. That's 20,000. Now I still got $40,000 to spend. Let's call it 30 because of fees and all that other stuff. So that goes to my pocket. So now John is taken care of. I own the property and I paid for the property out of my exit strategy. But there's a lot of different ways that you can structure that. Okay. And when I'm training people, right, which is part of the reason we have no end date on our mentorship program, because I need to make sure you're a real estate investor. And I don't care how long it takes you, we're going to get you there, right? So we don't have an end date. But when I'm training people, I teach them every aspect of these steps so that they can fill in the gap when it doesn't work. Okay. Now there are some lenders who have some restrictions. They may have deed seasoning restrictions, which means some may require me to be on that deed for a certain amount of time. It differs. It could be 3 months. I've had one lender say it was 1 month. I've had, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they require 6 months on the deed, right? Conventional lenders. So you have to be able to understand all that. And that's the reason that when I'm trading somebody in the real world, this is after the curriculum, after the classes, I have to hold their hand through the process because we have to be able to look at all that. And they don't always know, excuse me, what questions to ask in that process, right? That's what mentorship really is. So let's go. Let me review it. If I was buying this property in the traditional way, I go to a lender, they'll probably have me come in with 20%. Some lenders 10%, but it's hard money. Probably have me come in with 20%. That's $20,000. If I have it, great. I know I'm going to get it back anyway out of my exit. If I have it, great. But what if I don't have it? What if I don't have the relationships where I can raise it? Then, okay, I'm dead in the water if I don't have the education to be able to pay out of my exit strategy. So that's just one of the ways that we can acquire this real estate. Now, I wouldn't build a business model around that because, yes, you can acquire real estate with no money up front. It doesn't mean the real estate is free, and it doesn't mean you're not going to spend something to get in the conversation. Now, I've got some wholesaler friends. They have wholesaling companies, and I know wholesaling for a lot of people, there's a low cost barrier to entry, and that makes it attractive, right? So I get that. But you're also competing with wholesaling outfits that are putting $20,000 and $30,000 a month into marketing so that they can get into a position where they get the property without having to pay for it up front, right? So when you're doing that, when you're looking to build your real estate investing career, get the education first so that you can recognize opportunities when they present themselves. Somebody asked me a question one day. They said, if I had, $10,000 to invest, how would I do it? How would you do it? I said, well, the way I would do it isn't the way that you would do it because you don't have the education behind that. You don't have the knowledge behind that. So your $10,000 is not going to get you very far. What I would do is put that $10,000 into marketing and acquire multiple properties and set it up to where I can pay out on my exit strategy and then build a business that way, right? So I always want to stress that's how important knowledge is. Knowledge is, they can never take that away from you, right? They can never take that away from you. And let me see how much more time we got. It's 10 o'clock. Okay, we'll go for a few more minutes. And also, you've got to get the knowledge so that you can understand when people are marketing to you, how they are coming about with the outcomes that they are promising. Right? And you see that a lot in multifamily commercial. A lot of multifamily commercial, deals get thrown my way, right? Hey, you can make 15, 20% on your money and blah, blah, blah. And if I don't have the education, that sounds really good. Right? But I'm asking questions because I have a multifamily commercial background on the operations side. It was my job to make sure that that it was profitable. So hold on, Naomi, I don't want to miss your question. Did I miss it? Why wouldn't you come into a deal sub 2? Oh, okay. So subject to financing, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. More often than not, I hear it taught wrong. And subject to, I only use to tie up a property until I can fully engage. So sub 2 means you're acquiring a property subject to the existing mortgage. You're leaving the mortgage in place and you are paying the mortgage, taking possession of the property. And if you're renting it out, you're able to keep that and you can incorporate some business models and all that other stuff. But there's too much risk because when you do subject to, if you don't do it right, then you're subject to that due on sale clause, which the lender says in your mortgage agreement that, look, if title transfers to somebody else, we got to be paid off. So they can call the entire loan due. Now, if you're utilizing a trust, there's a way to do it. It's a little more complicated than I hear it being taught. That is not usually my go-to. I'll only do it temporarily when I'm waiting for capital to come from another project, then I can fully engage. But I'll go subject to go ahead and tie the property up. I teach a class on subject to. As a matter of fact, subject to is one of our, in the 4 Data Points Academy document library, one of the lessons is subject to. So we'll probably go over that on a Monday roundup. If you guys are in our database, if you're not in our database and you want to be, then you can text the word 4 data points, 4 DATAPOINTS to phone number just 85100. So if you text 4 data points to 85100, you'll be in our database, and then I'll be giving away some stuff, some free lessons. I think our weekly we have coming up Monday. It's a Monday roundup for people in our program. I may open that up to the general public so you can see what it is we do and see why we call it a real estate family. All right. Let me see. Okay. All right. Okay. 4datapoints.com is the website. If you go to 4datapoints.net, it's going to allow you to download the 4 Data Points guide, but you can get that on our website anyway. Go to 4datapoints.com. Everything is going to be on our website. 4datapointsacademy.com. That's to our online course. I have an online course. If you just want to get some knowledge for a few $100, it takes you all the way through the different lessons. But just keep in mind, it's not going to let you go to the next lesson until you pass the test. Each test is like 5 to 7 questions. So you really have to pay attention. And I had people call me and complain and said, hey, it's not letting me go to the next one because I haven't passed the test. So my response was pass the test. I don't know what you I don't know what you want me to say. All right, so we've got those things coming up. All right. So I lost my train of thought. Where was I? I know we were talking about structuring those deals creatively. So
There you go.
yeah, so I teach based on a few things. One, how do I keep people safe financially? That's a big deal for me because we have people that I mentor that are in their 70s and they don't have the risk tolerance like someone in their 20s because they're not bouncing back, right? So those folks I've got to have special protection over, and there's certain types of investing strategies that I discourage them from engaging in because of the risk, right? We want to control the controllables and then prepare for the non-controllables. It's enough things beyond our control that we have to deal with. So the 4 data points, those 4 questions came about as a means to protect people when I'm not there. Currently, I mentor 350 people. They don't all engage, but I know, especially from some of these rooms, I know Naomi mentioned that she learned a lot just from, being in this room. I would get concerned if Naomi just went out there and started investing based on something she saw in this room. There are all types of things that can go wrong. Okay. So if you are considering a mentor, make sure you pick a good one, somebody that you can reach out to in an emergency. Right. Everybody that has one-on-ones with me, they all have my cell phone number. I tell them, look, don't do anything without talking to me first. Even if you're 100% sure, just run it by me because there may be a better way to do it. Right. And there may be something that you are missing, especially when you get into multifamily commercial. When you get into multifamily commercial, that's 5 units and up. 5 units and up, look, all the protections aren't there. Now you're out there with the big boys, and they figure if you're savvy enough to do multifamily commercial, then you're savvy enough to take care of yourself and take all the precautions. So that does get complicated. But look, folks, long division was complicated before we learned it, right? And if you're serious about becoming a real estate investor, then let's have a conversation. Right? But some things are going to have to change. Right? How you feel about wealth is going to have to improve. Your relationship with money is going to have to improve. Let me give you an example. To get in our program, I keep the cost low, $5,000, $4,999. And if you don't have $5,000, you probably shouldn't be looking to get into real estate investing. That's just a sad truth. We've had people try to rob Peter to pay Paul to get into our program, and we recommended that they kind of hold off on joining our program. And these are people who wanted to pay. They had the money. But in the conversation, I could see that they had other obligations that were more important. Right? So if you don't have $5,000, just keep coming to the free stuff. You can download the guide. You can still move forward in your education. But, I got to manage people's expectations. Because if I let somebody in and then their situation is so bad that they can't do anything, who do you think they point the finger at? Now you're in my real estate family and you don't know how to invest in real estate. You can't do anything. You can't invest in real estate. That didn't help branding at all, right? And I did this to create real estate investors. That's why what we charge $5,000 for, the other companies will charge you $25,000 and $30,000 for, even more than that, right? Because the added support and all that other stuff, right? So 5,000, this is what I mean. Now, this goes back to you have to change your relationship with money. When I have a conversation with somebody and They haven't read our brochure. They have no idea that we have no end date. They have no idea of the opportunities that we create within our real estate. They have no idea all of the stuff that they get. Okay? So they don't appreciate how low of an amount $5,000 is. People that are more advanced are asking me like, well, how are you going to stay in business if you're only charging $5,000? As it's every conversation, right? But we keep it low, right? It was lower before, but we're scaling, we're offering, more programs, and we're doing a lot more. So we're just getting bigger. Your relationship with money has to change, because if you think $5,000 is a lot of money and you want to invest in multifamily commercial, I did one of my last property inspection was $4,700. My last multifamily commercial property inspection was $4,700, only to determine that, nah, I don't want the property. That $4,700 is the cost of doing business. That's one inspection, right? So if you want to get into multifamily commercial and you barking at $5,000, your relationship with money has to change, right? And that's those are some of the lessons that come along with mentoring people. It's not just the mechanics of real estate. A lot, right? And I tell people that, right? I get people that, hey, I want to join your program because I want to learn how to do this one specific thing. I tell them, well, you don't need to, here, I'll just send you a lesson on that. You don't have to do a program for that. And then when they get into it, they realize that one specific thing has a lot of layers. And if you're not familiar with how to navigate, you could lose a lot of money, especially in the rehab process, which is why we spend so much time on the rehab process, which is why I'm flying across the country, walking some of my students' projects, because even with training, even when you do everything right, things can still go wrong. Amen? So your relationship with money has to change. But the drive too, like you got to stay at it. Like it is not, I know people post the outcomes, and I know you see guys out there on yachts and doing all this other stuff. Believe me, I've gotten invited. All of the big names, most of the big names you see have reached out to me to be a part of what they have going on. And I'm talking about well-known people. And the last guy, I'm not gonna mention his name, but cool dude, man, love what he's doing. He said, look, man, I can help you like scale this thing like way up and all that. And he just had a wonderful offer, and just, he's a great dude. So this is nothing against him. And I told him, I said, look, man, you may not understand this, right? But I don't need anybody. And I'm teaching people to put them in a position where they don't need anybody. Because the people that you're putting me in contact with and going all these networking and stuff, what am I going to network? I can create deals where they don't exist. I have good enough relationships where I can raise my own. I don't need anybody. But the primary reason, because you can always go further with other people, right? I agree with that. I'm on board with that whole thing. But the primary reason is because when I get to where I'm going, all of the people that are behind me are going to see that I did it 100% solo. And me doing it, like the journey to get there, that's where all the value is, right? And people that I'm bringing along with that journey, they're going to know that they did it 100% themselves. And we have people in our real estate family that are just getting started. We have people that started like 2.5 years ago. They're up to 30 doors already. Now, we don't compare or anything like that, but that's a reality of what it is, right? It's different, I can tell. It's your God-given assignment, not just a money thing. Look, the money thing, and look, I've been broke before. Like from when I was 31 to like 40, maybe 40, 41, 42, I lost everything. And I had to go back in the multifamily commercial industry, entry level. And I don't know if you guys have ever made, and this is before I was really investing, right? But I was a real estate professional and I was making a few $100,000 a year. I don't know if you guys have ever went from a few $100,000, which I'm in California, I'm in the Bay Area, you're not rich, to making $16 an hour plus commission. And we talk about a humbling experience. Even the people that I had to interview, that I was way more qualified than, I got to sit in that interview. I remember one lady, I got recommended because back in 2001, I got into the multifamily commercial industry leasing, and I just built a reputation for being a performer. So they had called me back some years later. It was like 2008. And I was like, all right, I'd already lost everything, but I couldn't stomach it. I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't admit defeat like that. 2010, things would get no better. So they called me again. They was like, hey, we got this project. Can you come help us lease it up? And that's how I got back into the multifamily commercial industry. But the money, Oh, because people used to tell me this when I was broke, and you don't want to hear this when you're broke. Well, money is, it's not all about the money. It's not all about the look. Money doesn't fix all your problems. I can't pay my car note, so that's a problem that money can fix, right? Like I was there with it. But what I had to realize is money just makes you more of who you already are, for one. And even when I was broke, I would still give to people. I would still, do what I can. Like if I had $80 to my name, but I know I got a full refrigerator and my bills are paid for the month, let me give this homeless guy 60 because he needs it more than I do. That type of stuff, right? And I couldn't really afford and my dad just raised me that way. So I got to a point where the money was cool. My self-portrait was intact, meaning that I had healed enough to where I didn't give a damn what people thought. I don't really care, right? Like you guys hear me joke around all the time. Like I was big man on campus before real estate. So, so I got to that point, and the only way I found fulfillment was giving it away. And not just giving it away, but improving people's situation. And some of you guys that are on Clubhouse right now, you remember the guys you guys were rocking with me from day one. You remember those big rooms we used to do? You guys saw them how people's rents and mortgages and all that stuff I was paying. We'd have an event, and somebody would be on Clubhouse. They'd be in a really tough situation, but I'm like, man, this person has drive. And if I was in that situation, if somebody just gave me the opportunity, so I was flying people out to these events and all types of stuff. But in order to attain that fulfillment, I got to make more money. So I'm serious about my money, so I can be in a position to give more money away, or create. Amen. Naomi, I see you. Or create opportunities for folks. So your relationship
said,
with money has to change. Thank you, man. Your
We have
relationship.
a question.
Go ahead. What is it?
What's up, Anthony? He says, when I join the 4 Data Points Academy, what will the class schedule look like?
So let me see.
Website.
No, we're redoing the class schedule. But,
Nice. Okay.
But let me
Let's help him out.
yeah, let me help him out. Let me see. Let me go to that.
What's
So if you go to the website, there is under mentorship plans and pricing, there's a brochure there. And when you click on that brochure, it shows you everything, right? Now we have some core classes that we are, did I take them off? I think I took the core classes. Okay. So we have some core classes that we get into, right? So analyzing residential deals, structuring deals creatively, rehab and the construction process, seller financing, conventional financing, finding off market deals, building your team, real estate business development, staying compliant. We have a 10-step remodeling plan, buying tax deeds, creative finance, documents for owner financing, finance overview, marketing your property, real estate systems subject to financing, understanding deeds, understanding land trusts, investing with friends, group investing. On the multifamily side, we get into cap rates, net operating income, analyzing investment property, essential dates in a sale transaction, operating expenses, multifamily due diligence, types of commercial leases, soft cost, hard money, landlord, launchpad, which is a curriculum in and of itself, teaching you how to be a landlord, and a bunch of other things that I haven't put on the brochure yet. But I'm gonna tell you this, you ain't gonna need all that. I've got enough lessons to last 50 weeks, but we go 8 weeks, because after the 8 weeks, I want you to get out there and start doing the stuff and start coming up with challenges that we can work through and start making it happen. There's all the time in the world to do those other lessons. Some of those lessons are a little more advanced. You're not going to need them now, but you're going to be advanced one day, right? When we start getting into private equity and all those other stuff. So those lessons are going to be there, because the journey, you may be a beginner or intermediate, but you're not going to stay that way. And you're still going to be with us. And then you're going to be advanced. So you're going to be savvy. Then the capacity, the nature of our relationship changes at that point, because now we can just start building stuff and putting investment groups together and all these other things. So the classes are great. They're all live, right? We record a lot of them. But look, the value is in the support, because I'm going to turn you into a real estate investor unless you tell me not to. But I always got to create a space. No matter, you may 6 months say I give up, and then 2 years later you decide, man, I don't want to give up. I've got to create a space to bring you back in and get you and not charge you anything else. Get you back in and then get you back trained up, which is the purpose of having no end date. So when you guys hear me say no end date, and I keep harping on that, I don't think you understand what that means for me as a commitment, because I still got to have the infrastructure in place to support that. And I do that by using my own real estate investing to supplement the program. So I'm still active out there. So yeah. But if you guys have questions about that, just go to our website. If you don't join our real estate family, don't join anyone. Period.
Well said. Oh,
No, that's the truth. If you
I know.
don't join ours, don't join anyone, because there isn't anyone that's going to give you more support. It costs them too much. It impacts their bottom line. Trust me, I know. Right? So there's no companies that are going to do that. But what if I get you trained up and then now you're advanced? And now we start pulling resources together to do a bunch of projects. We make a lot of money off those projects. I'm willing to forego all the upfront capital to be a part of that situation. And now I got 1,000 real estate investors, all came through the 4 Data Points Academy. Now we have our own fund. Now we can lend, not broker loans, but direct lend in-house opportunities that we feel make sense, right? And we can manage all our own properties internally. We can have a rehab team all over the country. We could have teams in different cities internally. And we can be 100% self-sufficient, because I don't like banks. I don't like banks. I don't like the banking system. So I want to cut them out. And we get big enough, we'll be able to do that. So my vision for the 4 Data Points Academy goes so much further than just investing in real estate. We are going to be expanding into different topics: managing debt, right? Managing your credit profile, financial literacy. I'm going to put a course together for kids, financial literacy for kids, and it's going to be free. Well, in order for me to do that, I'm paying for it. I have to, take it from somewhere else. But hopefully that'll trigger their parents to get into financial literacy too. So there's a bunch of different things that we're going to be doing, and we're doing it honestly, and we're doing it with integrity. And I tell people, look, you have permission to reach out to anybody in our program. All these people you see, there's a bunch of them in our program that don't have the silver wreaths. But you can reach out to any of them, and I give them, look, they're free to talk about any experience, right? Any experience, good or bad. Matter of fact, I appreciate the bad experiences, because that's how we grow. If I find out somebody's having a less than perfect experience, I get directly involved and see what we need to do, because it was obviously something that wasn't intentional, or something that we had no control over, or whatever. But so yeah, but I could talk about that all day. Right? And
hey, we have a question.
Yep.
In your opinion, what is a comfortable amount of money to have before starting to invest? And this is by, I hope I say this correctly, Milu B or Milu B. If I butchered that, my bad.
So there is no right answer to that. The more money you have, the easier it is. The less money you have doesn't mean that you're dead in the water, though. You just got to have more knowledge to be able to move forward. So that's not as much of an obstacle. But when you're new, I would just focus on getting the education first. All right. There's people in our program that they spent the first 2 years getting their education. They had a passing in the family, job loss, but I was still able to create some opportunities for them within our program. For example, we do group projects. That's not on a brochure. But if I see 5 people, 6, 7, 8 people with resources, let's pull it together. Let's go flip some. We got to keep money in the circulation. But in doing that, I can take somebody that maybe they don't have any capital, but I can write them into the deal so they get experience. So they're on that operating agreement. So when their situation changes and they do go to that lender, they can say, yeah, I've done, 2 of these before already. Now they get better terms. So that's not something that's in our brochure, but it's an opportunity that I saw that can improve someone's situation. So I did it. So how much money should you have? Do what you can where you are with what you have, period. Don't let a lack of money be an excuse. All right, Richard, what's going on, brother? Richard, welcome to the stage. Going once. You're on mute, sir. All right. Well, Richard, if you figure out the technical difficulty, we will be here. So we're going to Ellis. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man.
Hey, Otis, how you doing?
Good, man. Tell everybody who you are, what you do real quick.
Yeah, I'm a full-time investor based out of Southern California. Been doing this for quite a while now, about 3 decades. I specialize in a special niche of real estate where I look for properties with title issues. And if I can operate those correctly and solve those problems, I'm usually buying those at a 20 to 50% discount. I just wanted to say that I share your vision. Otis, I started this a long time ago and I had something very similar. And how I grew my community. I started this organization called For Investors by Investors. Wasn't quite as ambitious as yours, so I'm really excited about just being a witness to seeing your success in that. But yeah, we built a community of other investors, and it's very, very satisfying. So that's why I support your vision and your community as much as I can. So thanks for bringing me up.
Amen. Amen. Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. And what Ellis does is very, very complicated, by the way. Like he was explaining it to me, and in my mind, I was thinking, I feel like I would have to read a lot, so I'm gonna shy away from any reading or unnecessary math. So Ellis is one of the people that's smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. So, amen, brother. I appreciate you. We had another question I saw pop up. I believe, what has been, in your experience, the best bank for real estate holdings? I think on the hard money side, I think Kiavi is really, really good. I don't like any of them. I just don't like them, man. I don't like banks. Like the banks are for the banks. They're not for the people, right? Even hard money lenders are for hard money lenders. They're not for the people. And you know, we as investors put so much time, energy, and resources into a project for some underwriter across the country who's never invested, a penny in their life, shutting down the deal for reasons that don't make sense. It's like, who knows better, you or me? So the more control I have over a situation, I think the more success I'll have with it. So a lot of them are the same, man. A lot of hard money lenders are the same. For new investors, I will say Kiavi is one of the better ones. I thought the better experience. But there's a bunch of them out there. If you guys need a hard money lender to for your investing, reach out to me. I'll get you taken care of because we are a hard money lender broker also, and I'm an investor, so I know how to position you to where you can anticipate some of the things that they're going to want, so it doesn't kill your deal. Remember, a lot of these deals, there's time restrictions. You're in contract. You have to do this by this time, this by this time, and there's a lot of things that could slow it up and put your earnest money deposit into jeopardy. So, you know, I don't like banks. I like being the bank. I don't like banks. All right, folks. Look, go ahead, Tavares. Did you have something to say?
Oh no, we're good. I was just scanning the chat, but everything has been caught up on, so we're good.
Yeah. I think we're good. So, folks,
And shout out to everybody going to Houston too. Let's talk
yes,
about that again.
yes.
Remind the people how important Houston is.
Well, I said there was going to be a special giveaway too. So, if you guys go to my Instagram and you share one of the posts about Houston and you tag me in it, then I'll register you and arrange a free ticket. This is the last this is the last real estate seminar you'll ever have to attend. If you're the kind that goes to seminar, this is the last one. There is no after this, right? If you can't accomplish what you need with this one, stop going. There is no seminar that is going to teach you as much. You know why? Because there's no money into teaching you everything. The money is getting you excited so that you want to spend more money. That's the business model that you see out there. I think that's tacky. And I've been in the situations where I could either pay my cell phone bill or I could get groceries. Like I had to make a choice. And a lot of people are hurting right now. So there's some folks that I understand they're not going to join our real estate family. And that's okay. We always extend the invitation. That's okay. But for those folks, because they can't afford it, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they may not be able to afford it. And there was a time where $5,000 to me was like it might as well have been 500,000, right? So I've been there. I understand. So I wanted to create something that still gives them a shot, right? It still gives them a shot. And coming to my events, we've done over 50 of them. Coming to my events, I will teach you how to invest. We're only going to stick to the basics, but it should be enough where you can generate some income. And then if you leave my workshop, I'm banking on you being so impressed with what you learn that when you get into position, I'm not going to have to find you. You're going to come looking for me in the daytime with a flashlight to join our real estate family. So again,
Okay.
honesty, integrity, that's the way we do business. There's no bait and switch. There's no, I've been to these seminars only because I want to see what their business model is. I go to the multifamily ones when they come to see who I'm going to hire from those companies. And a lot of it is just lifestyle, right? Or they have a panel, right? You go to a real estate event, they have a panel, maybe have some rappers up there, some ball players. How does that help? That's always been like, no, there's not going to be a panel. There's going to be me speaking because I'm the most qualified to teach you how to invest in real estate. James is going to be speaking on the business acumen side. We're going to have some of our real estate families sharing their experiences there. But I need you to know something. Didn't do me any good if you don't know anything, right? Your time is valuable. We only got so many minutes left on this planet. What you going to do with them? I'm 48, about to be 49. Something tells me I got more minutes behind me than in front of me. All right. I sent some friends and I hope they sign up. I can't, but I know it's 100. So I know it's 100, so I sent them your way. Amen. All right, folks, look, time is the most valuable thing you have. I hope we were able to honor it by teaching something. Pardon me if I got distracted or scatterbrained. Hopefully you learned something. Richard, I still see you. I see you on stage, man, but come off mic if you're there. I'm not going to shut it down until I answer your question, but all right. All right, folks, 4datapoints.com, the number 4, DATAPOINTS. We talked about the 4 data points in assessing a deal. There's a guide there you can download for free, all right? And then when you do that, you go into our system and then all the free stuff. Sometimes I'll give lessons out, or sometimes I'll just do random acts of kindness for people that are in our system. And, hopefully we become real estate family at some point. I am going to end the live stream. Thank you, everybody. Again, that's 4 data points. That's 4. Thank you for chilling out. You folks, Naomi, thank you because you've been active on the Facebook comments, and thank you to everybody on Instagram that joined. But Otis is out.